Okay, so NFL running backs are taking a stand. They're taking a stand against the league and the way that they're treating running backs as expendable, as a dime a dozen, and they are demanding that their contract needs be met. Now, this has been a trend in the NFL for many years where running backs are not nearly as valuable as they once were. Gone are the days of, Barry Sanders and Emmitt Smith, and I would say even like Marshall Faulk, LaDainian Tomlinson, Sean Alexander, Priest Holmes, those type of guys where you can run a whole offense around a running back. Now, uh, more often than not, I think the common practice in the NFL is going to be the running back by committee. You have a guy for third downs, you have a guy for maybe he's faster, maybe this guy can catch passes, and that has allowed the owners to not properly compensate the running backs the way that they had been in the past. And I think that for running backs that kind of sucks. But as the league evolves more and more into a pass happy league, the value of running backs is just going to continue to depreciate. And for star running backs, namely guys like Saquon Barkley, who this week went on interviews and was talking about how frustrating it is to be a star running back in this spot, getting franchise tag, which is basically the owner's way of cheaply and not long term paying these guys. Franchise tag is a 1 year thing. I think for running backs, it's 1 year, 10 million, and it's a way for the owners to get them for cheap and get them on the short term in case they blow their knees out or they lose a bunch of value. That's a common practice, and Saquon was just talking about how frustrating it is and how annoying it is to not be able to get invested in long term given his skill set, right? And I think it's good that the running backs are taking a stand and trying to do something better, especially for the next generation of star running backs, probably guys like Bijan Robinson and Jameer Gibbs and everything like that, and Travis Etienne when his contract comes up. But unfortunately, I think they're fighting a losing battle. And what I mean by that is Saquon Barkley has not exactly been able to stay healthy his entire career. And he is kind of a pretty good point of what the owners are trying to make, where they say, hey, running backs, they get injured all the time. They're the most physically demanding position in the NFL. We can probably find production, not levels of Saquon production. We can find, quality production for relatively cheap later in the draft. And we are not going to pay these guys good money and invest in them long term. And that's a sad reality. But unfortunately, I don't know if the owners are wrong necessarily. But I also don't blame the players for trying to fight for more money. So Saquon Barkley talked about it. He was franchise tagged this year as well as Josh Jacobs. Neither of them have signed their franchise tag. And we have another running back who is sticking up for himself and wanting a new contract, and that's J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins is fighting for a new contract with the Baltimore Ravens. He's holding out of mandatory stuff, and he wants a new contract. And J.K. Dobbins, I think the Ravens could really play hardball with him. Ironic, they could play hardball. I'm a comedian, guys, in case you couldn't tell. They're going to play hardball with him because J.K. Dobbins really hasn't proven much so far in his NFL career. He's very talented, and to me, he's the guy that's going to break out. But if you look at his resume so far, he hasn't done a lot to warrant a long-term lucrative contract, in my opinion. So for him to be in a position like this, he really doesn't have a lot of leverage, unfortunately. And I think the Ravens could easily make an example out of him and say, hey, you are the reason the league doesn't invest in running backs. You've been injured, you've been inconsistent, yada, 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 right? So I think J.K. Dobbins, while I admire his courage and sticking up for his financial future, don't think it's the best move for him, unfortunately. I think this will just lead to more opportunities for guys like Gus Edwards, or anything like that. And I don't know. I just don't love it. So the running backs, they are trying to get more money. So I want to ask you guys, are you on the team of the running backs? Do you agree with the owners? What is your kind of stance on that? Me personally, I don't disagree with the philosophy of the owners. I take the greediness aside because we know there's a foundation of that as well. I also agree with the fundamental aspect of don't pay running backs on their second contract. That's never really a good thing. We've seen it with Zeke and Todd Gurley. It doesn't really work out, unfortunately, because they fall off a cliff when they get near that 38 net year, near that age 30 mark, unfortunately. And I kind of agree with that. But on the other side, I also don't blame the players for wanting to secure a better financial future, for wanting to secure, um, you know, more money, more years on their contract. I don't blame them. So I understand both sides. I hope the players win, but at the same time, I think the owners, unfortunately, they just run things in the NFL. So they're probably going to just strong arm this battle and win it. So it is what it is, I guess. But it'll be interesting to see how these running backs deals work out and how the next batch of running back negotiates their deals and what kind of money they get. So